Well, so I figured it'd take about an hour to explain, just like goats 101. Because honest, the well run of deep with goats in terms of like, because we're gonna be getting like counter strategies or map specific strats or anything. We're just like covering like fundamental like this is generally your job stuff, and I figured about an hour, and it was an hour just to get through the tanks. Yikes. Anyway, if in part 273 of my two-part series, we'll now cover the supports. So we'll start with Lucio, as we can see. And the thing about Lucio is that even though like I joke and say like you just slam into the enemy team, like you it's basic, you run right at them, slam into something, like you think you run speed, right? Like okay, you speed. No, you don't run speed. Like you run speed if I mean, you're in speed out of spawn, obviously, because no one's taking damage yet. But in a goats v goats, again, the minor positioning of like where you take the fight doesn't really matter. You're not really speeding in any place. Whether you're fighting over here, you're fighting over there, doesn't really matter. So getting to certain places quickly, even rotations, frequently don't matter. Maybe if there is high ground, it might, but um, it's like that. Man, that was like an OWL game where it was like Hollywood, and teams like one team's on the high ground, and then they just kept like rotating on high ground, and then like just immediately jumping off because it's like instinctually they're like we need to take high ground, but at the same time they're running goats, so it's like what are you doing up there? And then just immediately dropped off. And they did it like a couple times. It was so weird. It's like that kind of position doesn't matter. Like rotations don't really matter in goats. So unless you're running like if the enemy's running like 222 or maybe quad DPS or something, then you might like speed onto enemies and just like rush at them. But in Goats v Goats, you're gonna slam into each other at the same time. It doesn't matter if you get there slightly faster. So, and then even micro speed of like Ryan's gonna keep swinging on the other Brian. They're gonna keep going back and forth. Like having speed on at the time isn't going to help nearly as much as just healing the whole team the entire time. The only time you're ever really going to want to switch to speed is if Reinhardt's super critical. Obviously, he needs to pull back or he's going to die, and you need to try and save him. And that's still going to usually use AMP. That's what AMP is going to be for, is to save Reinhardt. And when you do that, even then, you're still probably going to be like amps. Like I actually, oh wait a second, I get amp back. But you'll switch between them. Honestly, you'll probably do. You'll be like, oh, I'll switch to speed, I'll amp speed, and then I'll probably just switch to heals. Because you'll just get that initial burst, try and get some distance, and then switch to immediately healing because he needs health more than he needs to get away a lot of the time. It's kind of your own judgment call if you actually think amping speed the entire time will be more useful. But in a critical situation, health is probably going to help more. Kind of situational, but that's probably a better rule of just, you're just going to default to healing a lot. And of course the other thing is like again if your team has decided like oh someone's weak, someone's out of position, let's go get them, then obviously you go speed and you try and push on them quickly. Maybe you amp speed if you have it. It kind of depends on how strong your hand is in this moment. Like if the window will close quickly and you're not probably going to need amp heals because you're going to kill this person and probably win the fight. Sure, amp speed, make sure you get the kill. That's perfectly fine. Now, how Lucio is going to play is... This is kind of very similar to D.Va, because generally speaking, your damage is, like, not important. Wubs... you're gonna wub at them, why wouldn't you? You want to try and build your ultimate and do as much damage as you can, but the damage is very, very minimal. So, in order to try and maximize the value as Lucio, is you're gonna want to do, I'm just gonna say Reddit shit. Like you're gonna want to be Reddit Lucio. You're gonna want to wall ride, not necessarily. Oh, you don't want to wall ride away from the enemy team. Like you're not just gonna like spin around point like a jackass like this and just be like wee all the time. That's not gonna do anything. But if you can try and like maintain, not like that, but let's say it was like King's Row, for instance, and you got like you're attacking King's Row, so the enemy's over here, and you have the hotel wall. If you can like get on that wall, get higher on it, stay kind of like to the corner. I'm honestly not very good at wallrunning as Lucio, but if you could be in kind of like these kind of like positions and try and stay up here a little bit, and try and like wub at them from better positions, like these up angles. And much again similar to Diva is like, who can challenge you up here? Yeah, maybe Zen discords you. Maybe they try and get some shots on you. But this is still pretty safe, just as long as you don't get too crazy with it and go like right at the enemy team. And it's still better if you could find a farther back one, because you still want to be safe. Like, you don't need to be close to the enemy to get your wubs in. Accuracy is super important, because again, it's not critical damage or anything. You're not Zenyatta by any means. It's hard to talk about like best angles unless I get on specific maps, and that's, you know, a whole mess, and I'm not getting that far into like this kind of deal. But the general idea is you take is you just try and maintain the sort of high ground position that a lot of ways wouldn't be safe, but it goes back to all the other things of like, who can threaten you, who can damage you. There's no Widowmakers, there's no Hanzos, there's none of that shit. So most people who could normally hit you don't exist in Goats v Goats. So your only real worry is going to be Zenyatta again, and he's not going to be right-clicking. If he Discords Orb you, you know he's going to, like, that's like the giveaway. If you get a Discord Orb and you drop down immediately, unlike Diva, you don't have the HP pool to like stay in that and like wait and see. You don't have 300 HP you can burn and not worry about it, and still have 300 left over. You only have the 200. Like, you could die very, very quickly. And if a flame strike hits you, or even a whip shot, that's going to be a significant chunk of your health. So be very careful about getting Discord at all. That's the giveaway that you're in danger if you have Discord on you, because now you have Zen on you, and they're probably going to yell, "Kill the Lucio." That's definitely the giveaway. So as long as you don't have Discord on you, you can take higher positions, try and like wall ride. Just make sure that your aura is on your team. Like, if you're above them, they still get the aura. I'm not sure if it's actually a sphere or a cylinder or what, so don't get like absurdly high. I'm not even sure what map that would be apply to, but you could still get fairly high, get some wubs in. And what you can do, and this is the danger at Reddit part, Lucio, that we get into, is when you see the opportunity and you're doing this stuff, like you're staying up here. Oh, one of the reasons why like staying up here is good is it avoids things like Earth Shatter and Gravitons. Like, if you're ever worried about getting caught in all and you have beats, you can kind of be like up here, and then they can't, a lot of their ultimates are not going to affect you, and then when you get down, you can just drop beat and save your team. It's basically like the best of both worlds in terms of like staying out of the fight, staying out of ultimates, and being able to save your team, while still actually being able to contribute value. This is obviously kind of like dangerous talk, but keep to the rule of, if you have Discord, stop being Reddit Lucio. You're in trouble. You should be pretty safe, because most damage isn't going to be so significant that you actually have to worry. And then of course just retreat back to like behind range shield, or just even around the corner entirely, just so you don't die. Because another thing to keep in mind about Lucio is that if the enemy is, let's say, over here and your team's over here and you're fighting, you could be right here and your whole team is getting healed. And sure, your damage isn't being contributed, but you can safely heal up and not have to worry about dying. So you can always take super safe angles as Lucio and still contribute without, you know, and get yourself healed up. And then once you're healed up again, we go back to wall riding like a jackass and trying to like get a little bit of value. And another thing about the wall riding like a jackass thing is that you can try and create opportunities as Lucio. This is like, if you could pull this off, you can end up like winning fights for your team. And by that is like, oh man. So let's say, you know, the enemy Ryan's over. Let's say that was the enemy Ryan. So you're your team, you're trying to like get some little boops and stuff, and then suddenly you boop, and then like immediately get out. And that pushes the enemy Ryan into your team, where he is now just surrounded by bullshit. They're gonna have to start blowing like every cooldown to save him. Like Zarya Bubble comes out, our repair pack's gonna come out to try and save him. Even ultimates might come out, and that's gonna be tremendous. The danger here is, of course, that if you do this, you could get stunned by Brigitte. So, if Brigitte is right next to Reinhardt, you might want to be very, very careful, or be very, very good about doing it. Because in this scenario, if I can even do it, You could theoretically like boop him and maybe just like immediately, like you might be able to, if he's close enough to the wall, like obviously this guy's not really close enough. If he's close enough to the wall, you might just be able to do that and then just immediately go back. If and without leaving the well, then Brigitte can't actually stun you because she can't get up here to actually do it. Only if you touch the ground, you're in serious danger. And you know, getting close to an enemy team is definitely going to be a hazard to your health, but if you can pull that stuff off and have like the confidence to do it, tremendous value. Like this, like boops can win team fights easily. The same thing of like booping people into other ultimates like Diva Bombs and stuff. I mean, one of the big strategies lately has just been throwing Diva Bomb out, and when they're trying to like shield it, you know, Lucio comes in and tries to like boop them above, like just boop them up, so that Reinhardt's now in the air, and his shield is not necessarily going to do anything. And then, you know, a couple people get picked. It definitely requires some amount of like being brave and confident on Lucio. And it's dangerous play, but again, if you're not discorded, you're pretty safe. If Brigitte is either one, just use Shield Bash already. That's another thing to look out for. Like if you're going to do any of this, if you've seen Brigitte Shield Bash, then there's an opportunity to get riskier. Or just pay attention to her positioning in general, and if she's nowhere near where you're going to be, then you're fine. But she's definitely your biggest threat. Other than that, you know, get your webs in as you can, try to aim them. There's no fall off. Keep everyone in your heal aura. The other thing is going to be how you use beat. So, generally speaking, when you get into the game of ultimates and how basically it goes v goats, everyone has their ultimates all the time. Like even just shot, like even trying to like predict ultimates and like what did the enemy team have? If they didn't use it last fight, they probably have it this fight. It's always one good rule. It's because there's so many ults all the time. But beat in general is not a life-saving ultimate so much as an initiator or a stabilizer. So to put it like another way, if you all get caught in a graviton, you don't use beat, you use transcendence. Transcendence saves everyone, it keeps everyone healed, it's a tremendous amount of healing. Beat, there's a chance you die before you even drop the beat. It has this cast time to it as a slow reaction. It can be it is an opportunity for everyone to kill you before he even gets off, and then it's just this burst of like 1,000 HP. Oh, let's break it. Damn! Or okay, it's like 800. It's a huge burst of, but it immediately starts ticking down. It immediately starts going down. Look how long it actually lasted. Transcendence lasts longer than that, and like it's not necessarily going to save you from graviton. Especially graviton. It might save you from an Earth Shatter. Earth Shatter, you know, everyone gets up. But a lot of times what you want to use beat as is if the fight's going poorly, like everyone's just taking a lot of damage, things are just in a rough spot, you've blown a lot of cooldowns, you don't have much else to do, beat's going to be really good to kind of give you like a resurgence back into the fight, get everyone back healed up, get your cooldowns back, and come back into it. If it is an instance of like, let's say everyone got Earth Shattered, which is not quite the same as getting gravitoned, and you're, you know, doing your Reddit things and you're on a wall, so you avoid it entirely, yeah, then you can beat that and save everyone. It's good for that. Because you're free of the grabs, so you're not really going to be targeted the same way as anyone else on the ground. That's like one of the big differences. If you're caught in a grab, then you're probably just going to die and waste beat anyway. Or, because they keep in mind that like when you do beat, it still gives people ult charge. It's not like Ham and Shield, it does give ult charge, so if you're caught in a grab, you're really just giving like a shitload of health to like enemy Rhine, and he's just going to Earth Shatter you again immediately after that, and then probably kill you with that. And you just want to avoid double stacking your support ults. I guess that's like one of the biggest distinctions, because you could argue like, well, you can still save people in a grab, you can still do that, like it's fine, but there should be a clear distinction of when you want to use beat and when you use transcendence. You never stack them. So graviton, no beat, go for transcendence. It's like the easiest distinction. Beat is more stabilizing, it's more initiating, it's a lot more fluid in what it's used for. It's not so much life-saving ultimate as this is an oh shit ultimate, and we're gonna just use it that way. Transcendence is more like life-saving. Actually, I guess saying oh shit, life-saving is kind of sounds like the same thing, but it's like beat just it's just the idea of that beat has a delay, transcendence is instantaneous. So if like say Reinhardt was critically injured, trying to beat him, like let's say he's like 100 HP, he's almost dead, we know he's going to die in any second. Transcendence could save him, beat cannot, because beat has a 1 second cast time, he's dead. It's not going to work. It's more for a general of this fight is going poorly, and if we don't do something, we're going to lose. But technically, we haven't lost yet. You beat. Countering other ultimates, you can. It's like even like you look at OWL. A lot of times they beat to stop bombs, which kind of weird. Kind of weird. Just because like if you're not, because Diva Bomb has like a radius to it. It has damage fall off. It's 1,000 damage close to it, but as you get farther away, it like quickly diminishes. So even if you're caught out and you get beat at just the right time, that burst of 800 HP is probably going to save your life because you're probably not taking the full 1,000. But that should just give you an idea of how they treat beat as being almost like a throwaway ultimate, because like how often is this going to matter to save you from it? Because ideally no one dies to bomb because no one gets hit by it. But they're so concerned because if anyone gets picked, they basically lost, that they're like, well, just in case someone gets caught out, we'll use beat just to make sure that no one dies for sure. Which is kind of like throwing it away. But so it should kind of give you like, I don't know, some idea that don't treat beat the way you normally would on a regular 2-2-2 competitive game where you're saving it for like Genji Blade or something. There's no Genji Blades, there's no other ultimates like that. You can be a lot more freer to liberally use it for situations that wouldn't normally call for it. So it's, we're low, we're in a bad situation. Almost actually, I guess the best comparison would be to treat it more like Valkyrie than you would normally be. Because Valkyrie is another, what do they call it? Like a tempo alt. Treat it more like a tempo alt, where you're trying to maintain momentum or shift momentum in your favor. So treat it like that. You can save lives with it. You can use it as Earth Shatter would be the go-to in terms of that. If you want to pretend you're OWL, you can just save it for if they actually go for a bomb. But it's a little overkill. But yeah, like so, Brigitte is also going to be another tempo alt. But if you don't have Rally, then using Beat's just like a much stronger version of Rally. It's another way to look at it. Significantly stronger, significantly more powerful, but similar in nature of just maintaining that momentum and swinging it in your favor when you need to. One of the things with GOATs, and just in general, is don't be afraid to waste ultimates, because you get them so quickly. It's usually not a waste. The only way to waste it truly is to over-ult. Like if you stack Beat and Transcendence, then you've wasted your ult. If you used Beat and you won the fight, it's not so much a waste, because in GOATs you're going to get another one pretty quickly. And a lot of the other ultimates don't necessarily kill you, because again, like Earth Shatter can just be blocked in general. Grav can sometimes be played around and just kind of like survived, even without Transcendence, but of course you're saving the Transcendence for that anyway. But just be somewhat more liberal with it than you typically would. Don't necessarily save it. Don't also necessarily like I say initiate, but actually like you wouldn't like, okay, so if you were walking into a fight and let's say you had no ultimates, the only ultimate you have is Beat, and it's early, you're just starting the fight, I would not like, okay, let's go at them and hit Beat. I would go at them, start blowing your shit, then hit Beat. Like you've blown your bubble, you've blown maybe not you've used Amp because you're Lucio, you could control using Amp, but Zarya's blown her bubbles, maybe your shield's taking a lot of damage. Brigitte probably used her her repair pack. You've wasted a lot of your stuff, and you've hit them pretty hard, but obviously it didn't kill them because they're just being aggressive. Then you use beats. Once you've blown a lot of your shit, you're gonna use beats to stabilize, to keep the pressure going, and then you get all your cooldowns back again. So you're just doing it to just maintain like constant heavy pressure. And this isn't necessarily going to guarantee you win the fight, not by any means, because obviously they have their own shit. They might just counter beat just to match your beat, but at the very least it will then get you your other ultimates so that you can then make bigger plays. So That's kind of like another example of Beat just being a little bit more of a throwaway ultimate. But definitely don't just start a fight with it. Let the fight play out a little bit before you use it. Let your resources get burned first. The true initiating ult of when you just like use it immediately would be Rally. Just because of how Rally just lasts so much longer that you can do that. Beat does not last that long. That's kind of like the main difference of why Rally would be treated differently. Because Rally lasts, what, I don't know, like 10 seconds? Something like that. And Beat only lasts really a few, like maybe 5. And obviously you just kick this, it just takes down damage so quickly that, you know, it could actually last like 1 second if they do enough damage to you immediately after you use it. So, that's like the main takeaways. So, Beat's not as valuable as you think, and try to look for good boop opportunities to displace the enemy into your team, while at the same time playing safe if you do get discorded, and being just afraid of Brigitte, because that's the one person who is going to screw you up regardless of whether or not you have Discord or not. Because if she stuns you, you're toast. So definitely stay away from her if you're gonna get ballsy. It's more advanced play. It's not nearly as safe as like D.Va doing her risky positioning, because D.Va's so much faster, so much better protected. But it's high risk, high reward. It's high. That's the best way to put it. Very high risk, but very high reward. So it's more. It's not necessarily a default play you should be doing, but at the same time, if you see that opportunity, if you're like, wait a minute, Brigitte's over there, Reinhardt's right next to a wall. Boop. Okay, we win. You know, go for it. Go for it.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. Accidentally pressed that button, but it was well said nonetheless. So, Zenyatta. So obviously Zenyatta is a character that could be replaced with other healers. I mean, the original Goats was Moira Goats, then it was Ana Goats, and now it's Zen Goats. The reason why it's Zen Goats now is, one, Ana Goats proved to be somewhat ineffective against D.Va, so it was, and Zarya Bubbles. Like, it was hard to get value out of her cooldowns, and she's very vulnerable. And she doesn't really provide a lot of benefits. A lot of the other nerfs, too, made Zen more practical in that, because of, like, armor nerfs and stuff, because of, not armor nerfs, but just, like, support ults. Just the various attempts to make Goats less viable pushes Zenyatta up, because at the end of the day, you need to kill things. You just need to be able to kill things, and Zen's going to be the best support at actually getting things dead. You are one of the, again, you and Zarya are the primary DPS of Goats. And yet, Discord, it's just so much damage, even without Discord. So, like, in some ways, there's not a lot of tips about Zen. Like, this is the most mechanic-intensive character in Goats, because it's a matter of whether or not you can land your shots. Even if you can't, you don't necessarily need to get the headshots, but if you can, you know, because we're talking about some of the strategies I'm talking about, like of Lucio's fucking around on walls and stuff. If you see a Lucio and you discord him and you can just shot him, you can make those shots, well then he's dead and you win. Generally, do you want to be making those plays? I mean, if you can land the hits, sure, but you can put the fear into them. But, you know, as I've said, and I hope that people, even though this apparently is a lot much longer series than I want it to be, pay attention to some of the things I said, because it's like, you don't want to get baited out and wasting your time, because if you see a D.Va just like screwing around, putting damage onto her isn't really going to do anything, because that's not a win condition, you know. Wasting time on targets that you cannot kill is not valuable. So most of your job is going to be, when Reinhardt drops his shield, which should be pretty early in the fight, put the Discord orb on him and just shell out damage. Try and get the headshots if you can, but just keep left clicking. Just left click, left click. And when we're talking about right click, just to be clear, if you do not know this, the DPS of right click is about half the DPS of left click. Right click is burst damage, and that is useful for like sniping around corners and stuff. It's good for like getting like, you know, surprise cheeky kills where, oh hey, there's a Widowmaker up there, that's nice, boom, okay, you're dead. It's good for that. But in Goats, who are you going to be able to do that on? No one. Everyone you can see easily is tanks. The people in the back line, like, I mean, theoretically you could snipe the other Zen, maybe, but odds are extremely low. And again, the entire point of this video is talking about trying to more optimize your play, getting more value out of your shit, and going for like that kind of risk reward in terms of just like the risk is you've just wasted like a lot of time and a lot of damage to get a pick that's extremely unlikely to happen. Because even if you get damage into him, if he doesn't die, it doesn't matter because he's just gonna be safer, and he'll get healed up by his other guys. Like not even with Brigitte things, it's just gonna, he's just gonna be like maybe around a corner and get AOE healed, and then he'll just be right back doing it because you're not gonna get another hit on him. Ryan might hold shield for a second. That's all he needs to do. It's never gonna make a difference. So all you're really ever gonna do is discord the Ryan and just keep shelling out damage to him. Now, being in the far back as you are, because you'll probably be one of the farthest back people in the comp, you're definitely going to be one of them looking out for other targets to kill, and that's people out of position. So one of the obvious choices is always going to be Brigitte, because she's like, when I get, Brigitte's will be last, but she's the one who has most to worry. If you see Brigitte out of position, then maybe if she can, you get a moment where she gets her shield or something, you can call another target and be like, quick, everyone get the Brigitte, she's feeding, and then go kill her. But you really just want to keep the DPS going on the Rhine. If he puts up shield, you just keep putting damage on the shield because eventually it'll break. Burn that resource. Keep the pressure on him. Be aware of, like, if Zarya bubbles him, Discord goes away. Because bubbles remove all forms of any kind of debuff. So Discord will be removed, immediately reapply it the first chance you get. And that's a lot of it. Like, Harmony Orb, it's going to be another simpler thing where once you're trying to put as much pressure on the enemy Rhine, you want to put as much support on your own Rhine. So Harmony Orb on Rhine is where that's mostly going to be like the default position. So like start of the fight, beginning of the match, like Harmony Orb goes on Rhine. As people need health, like if people get critical, you can switch the Harmony Orb around. You are basically the primary single target heal. Once again, I'll get to Brigitte in a second, but Brigitte's E, her repair pack, that is, I don't consider that a heal. Don't consider that as something that you, like, oh, well, Brigitte will get that, I'll get this person. No. You are the primary single target healer, so anyone who gets critical, you could put the Harmony Orb on them. So you're keeping it, say this is Reinhardt, you're keeping it on Reinhardt, but if suddenly Zarya starts taking a lot of damage because of the pressure, you can put it on Zarya. Don't rely on Brigitte to be doing that. Because again, even if she wanted to, she might have it on cooldown. Harmony Orb is always going to be critical. Like, and this is one of those things that is cross character, like, or cross comp. Like, even if you're not running goats, like, for the love of God, always have Harmony Orb on someone and always be looking to see if you need to change it on someone else. It shocks me to my core how many Zenyatas will let Harmony Orb go away or not reapply it to people who need it and just keep it on someone and just ignore it entirely. Like, holy shit, for the love of God, keep reapplying Harmony Orb. It literally takes like a like just boop boop boop, Harmony Orb, boop boop boop. Like, I didn't have to do anything to do that. Like, it didn't disrupt my DPS at all in the slightest. It's like instantaneous. Like, it just, like, the animation gets immediately canceled when you do that, when you start attacking again. Like, just for the love of God, keep constantly applying it to people who need it. But at the same time, don't necessarily be too quick to, like, see, there's the trick of goats. Like, we're talking about, like, when D.Va, like, a good idea of D.Va was to go up on high grounds, take weird angles and distract, and then take damage and be fine with it. You don't necessarily need to put the Harmony Orb on D.Va at that point, because, again, if she's smart, if she falls back when she should, and she should, because if she's paying attention, she's still to do that, she will get healed by the AoE healing. So it's a matter of, if you see that the fact that maybe she cannot get away, like, say, for whatever reason, like, Brigitte went all in on her, and you're like, oh, well, she got stunned out of her boots. Oh, shit. Be attention, and then at that point, like, oh yes, Harmony Orb, because now she's trapped. She could be taking a lot of damage. She's now the new focus and needs as much healing as she can get. So, but generally you're going to want to keep it around her, and let the AoE heals do their work. And when one of you guys gets focused, like, you can usually just tell, because it's probably going to be whoever is discorded. Like, that's as I said with the Lucio, if Lucio gets discorded, that means you're the target. So if someone other than Reinhardt has a Discord orb on them, you might need to put Harmony Orb on them too to kind of mitigate that, because they're probably now the new target. That's the giveaway. And much as the giveaway for your team, whoever you have the Discord on is going to be the target for you, and it's usually going to be Reinhardt, because Reinhardt's the one who's going to be taking the most damage, and you want to get as much damage in on him as possible to basically win that fight. It's kind of your default position. Until opportunities arise to kill someone else, you kill Reinhardt. In terms of Transcendence, as I kind of said with the Lucio thing, Transcendence, the main thing you're probably going to use it on is Graviton. It is the go-to quickly we need to save someone ultimate. They're in a case where just Reinhardt's about to die, you could totally push Q in seconds. That's fine. You don't necessarily need to save it for Graviton. Ideally you do. Ideally you don't use it to just randomly save someone who just happens to start dying, because it's not good value. Like, you want to trade ultimates. That's like kind of like in GOATs, ultimates just kind of get traded back and forth. You get shattered, your team gets shattered, your Lucio beats it because he wasn't in the shatter because he's probably on a wall or something. You get Graviton, you Transcendence. You do that to them, they do the same thing, back and forth. You just trade ultimates. However, ideally, the way you're winning is that, you do the micro plays, you focus on Reinhardt more, you do more damage to him, you put so much pressure on him that your Reinhardt, gets his ult faster, or you get the first surf shatter. Maybe they don't have beat for it yet because, you got it so much faster. You win basically by that. And then ideally, like, you just block an earth shatter, and then you could save beat for something else to just initiate and want to fight a different way. But yes, your ultimate will definitely be it should never really be used as a tempo ult or anything like that. You don't go in, you don't start a fight with Transcendence. The only reason you ever would do that is if it was last fight and it's desperation time. It's almost always going to be a reactionary, mostly to Graviton. Maybe if your Reinhardt's critical, and because if Reinhardt dies, then you just straight up lose the fight, and that's usually never ideal. So you usually want to save him, unless he's purpled, of course, but that's only if they're running on GOATs, which probably not gonna happen. With Zen, like, normally, like, you'd have to worry about positioning, worry about corners. It's GOATs, you don't have to worry about any of that shit. You're pretty safe where you're at. You're gonna be behind Reinhardt. If there is a health pack, obviously you can get it. Like, that's true of literally any character in GOATs, where if there's a health pack around, go grab it, because you need all the healing you can get a lot of time, just to keep the pressure off your own healers, and kind of use that to your advantage. But it's not something you need to consider about positioning. That's one of those things where it's not an issue. That's positioning, you're fine. Other than that, like, that's pretty much it. Like, it's a simple character. It's the most mechanically intensive, but at the same time, there's not too much to say specifically about how you would play him. You're just throwing orbs at people and trying to get damage in. Just don't stand next to Ryan. You're pretty much safe. You should be probably one of the last people to die. Though, if the enemy does somehow get you, then they're going to want to kill you, because, again, you're primary damage dealer. You are technically the weakest. But it'd be pretty foolhardy for anyone to actually try and dive you. There could be like a floats variant, where if the enemy is running a Winston GOATs, they might try and go for you. But this is still going to be a matter of, like, your team then just peeling for you, getting D.Va to help you. That's another reason why, D.Va's there, is if they're running any kind of weird variations, D.Va's usually the one that's going to be, which I probably should have mentioned in the D.Va thing, but whatever. It was already an hour long. But she's the one who's going to be protecting you anyway. From Winston, she can kind of bully him, boop him around, but like Ball, Sombra. So if they are running variants, then your, like, positioning matters a little bit more. But because of the nature of GOATs and how many ways there is to bail out characters with Brigitte, with Bubbles, and everything, it still doesn't really matter too much, because it just kind of gives an opportunity for you to then punish anyone who's trying to kill you. Because GOATs then just collapses on that person and probably kills them. Because if Winston, in the Winston situation, if he jumped on you, well, then he can't jump out, and you just kill him before he can jump out. Problem solved. So you basically just stand your ground. You just E him. You just put your Discord on him and just, like, try and hit him in the head. You're actually better off trying to stand your ground than trying to, like, run away to a safer position, because you just have so much protection. You just kill him first. I mean, hell, it's technically possible, even without any help, to kill a Winston before he kills you if you get enough headshots in. Or if you, like, get a good charge on him as he leaps in. But, that's entirely different. So yeah, it's fairly simple. Just Transcendence, Graviton, put as much damage into Reinhardt, especially if possible. Look for opportunities for people out of position that you might want to focus on instead. Brigitte is the one most likely. Actually, Zarya also too. Also high priority. If she doesn't have her own personal bubble, she is vulnerable. So consider that. Generally, they'll play smart, but these are things to look out for. People out of position, because you're the one who's most likely going to see it. You have the Discord, so technically you, even if you don't say a word, Discord is still technically target calling. I mean, it helps to say a word so that the team knows it, because they might not see it, but, uh, it's like non-verbal, like, whoever has Discord is what everyone should be killing. But in Ghosts, you generally scream at, scream the person who you want everyone to kill. It's just how you do it, But, you have the best vantage point to look for these opportunities. You and Diva. So be on the look for them. Yell at who you have discorded. Make sure everyone focuses on them. Do that. Do keep in mind that Reinhardt's and Brigitte's damage range is limited. So even if you see someone who's technically vulnerable but is too far away, keep that in mind. Don't necessarily ignore it, but just kind of keep in mind that if it's someone like really beefy, like, let's say Zarya just doesn't, like, say Zarya was out of position, like she's off on the side, but maybe she does have personal, so like you could pressure her, but at the same time, like, without Ryan and without Brigitte, she's probably gonna survive. So it's like, and Brigitte, or not Brigitte, but Diva's obviously gonna boost away. So only like really slow characters that doesn't have any kind of advantage, and slow or not super beefy characters like Zarya being 400 HP and plus 200 if she has bubble, it's still like too beefy to really jump on unless Reinhardt and Brigitte are basically already on top of her. Or if they have speed, or if you have speed. So it's like, obviously things get really, really complicated when you start factoring all the possibilities, but just kind of like focus the Rhine, keep Transcendence for Graviton. And we will move on. Oh, and okay, wait, there's one thing I did forget. So you could run Ana. Obviously, Ana she gets countered by Diva, so unless you get extremely good value out of your nade and sleep, which if they have a Diva, you're probably not. But if they're running a Sombra, you could switch to Ana. Like, Zen is the one who's going to switch, so if they're running some kind of variant of Goats, you could consider running the Ana. If you're confident in your sleeps and you're confident in your nades, good on you. Go for it. That's where Ana can get more value than Zen. Just keep in mind that you are going to sacrifice some damage, so that's like why these cooldowns are critical. And if you can't get value out of them, then don't switch off, because Zen's going to be simpler. It's, you just shoot them. You discord and you shoot them. It's very, very simple. Mechanically important just to get the headshots, but still, even if you don't get headshots, you're still getting value. But if you're playing Ana and you can't get value out of your cooldowns, then you're wasting your time. The other thing with like the other variant of Moira is the reason why you would run Moira over Zen, because she still also has the issue of like her orbs can get eaten by Diva, but where she does still shine even in the current meta is going to be if the enemy is running like a lot of DPS, especially flanking DPS, because while Diva can protect you some, if they're running like quad DPS and like 3 of them are flankers, Diva can only do so much. Bubbles can only, like, they're gonna kill your ass. You can't fight off that many flankers. And if your team's blowing like every cooldown they have to keep your ass alive, it's not worth it. Unless you're just a god Zen that's just gonna like, ooh, Tracer, boom, she's dead. Like, unless you're god Zen. This is where you go Moira, because Moira is super strong in this like situation of because now you have, first of all, your damage is easy on flankers, like you can't miss. Your orb could get eaten if they're running a Diva, but again, if we're talking quad DPS, they probably don't have a Diva. But your damage like cannot miss super flanky targets, and of course you have Fade. So you have an excellent escape. So you're more or less unkillable now in Goats, because now not only can you be bubbled, can you be repair pack, but now you can just fade out of that shit. You can just healing orb, regen, like you're basically unkillable without really killing the rest of your team as well. So if they're running a lot of DPS, Moira is the good switch off. You can actually damage Pharah really easily. You have a lot of options with that. So this is the reasons why you'd run Moira goats. Unless you just want to run your own quad goats or something, or floats or something like that. But that's where Moira will shine, is against a lot of DPS. And finally, the reason goats exists. Brigitte. Fucking Brigitte, man. I actually like playing Brigitte. I'm the weirdo that, I enjoy the misery other. That's probably why I like playing Mei. So, playing Brigitte and making the enemy team absolutely miserable is, the funnest thing I can imagine. So, but, a lot of DPS players end up being, like, forced to play the Brigitte, and they don't like it because they like, the mechanical skill. They like making the big plays. And Brigitte is kind of boring in that sense. To kind of like, if I was going to give how you play Brigitte, and this is true with goats, true in any composition, you don't play Brigitte really aggressively. Like, okay, yes, she's basically an unkillable god being. In fact, when she was released, I called her the ultimate life form, because she is half tank, half healer, half DPS. She's just, she does everything. And sure, they nerf the shit out of her, but she still gets the job done. And but she's not really unkillable. It's the joke. Brigitte is actually quite fragile. Where she gets the mythos that she is unkillable, even when she was much stronger, she was still very, very fragile. What gets that impression is that Brigitte, one, requires a lot of cooldowns to kill. Like, if an enemy, let's say there was a Hanzo in front of me right now, I have a shield. He needs Storm Arrow to have a slightest chance of killing me. And Storm Arrow is just going to be enough to, like, break. It's not even actually enough to break the shield. I have 500 HP on the shield. Storm Arrow is like 300 some damage. I don't remember exactly, but it's not enough to even break the shield. Like, he would need Storm Arrow. He'd need a couple extra arrows just to break the shield. By that time, I am there. And he's going to need Leap, too, to get away from me. He's not going to win that fight. Like, he needs to blow every cooldown he has just to have the fighting chance to maybe hit me in the head. And if he doesn't hit me in the head, I've still won the fight. Like, sucks to be a DPS against Brigitte. And this is true of, like, almost everyone. If McCree doesn't have Flash, if Soldier doesn't have Helix Rocket, like, if any of these guys don't have all of their shit, Brigitte is probably going to beat them. And it's just not even just to win against Brigitte, it's to have a fair fight. Because in other DPS matchups, if it's like Soldier versus Hanzo, you don't need Storm Arrow to kill him. You could just shoot him in the head at any time. You could just shoot him twice in the body. You don't necessarily need Helix Rockets to kill Hanzo. It just helps a hell of a lot. Brigitte, though, you need him. You need him to have any hope of beating her. And that amount of just demand in resources just for the chance of beating her is tremendous. And like the way you play Brigitte, the way you take this to your advantages is you don't be aggressive. You stand here and you wait. You hold shield so you don't die, and you just kind of wait for the enemy to move and to make their plays. You wait for them to blow their cooldowns so that they don't have them to fight you. So now the chance it's not a fair fight anymore. Or not even, it was barely a fair fight before. They're completely screwed. Because if Hans is blowing his cooldowns and then you just start hammering him, he's just dead. And he has no chance of winning. It's a 1 in a million shot to get the point blank headshot on you. Good luck with that, Hanzo. And this is also kind of somewhat true in goats. But you just don't want to leave yourself vulnerable, because like Reinhardt's your counter because you can't block him. The shield does nothing against him, and he outdamages you significantly, and he has significantly more health. Like, he has you beat in every capacity, and all you can do is whip shot him away. That's your saving point. But they have a Lucio with speed boosting around, and it can work. So you just always want to be like, the universal how you play Brigitte is just like, you stand, you wait, you let people blow in their cooldowns. If anyone aggresses on you, you punish them. You throw your E out as necessary. I should really get close to some allies, so that he needs health, boom, and you just wait. You hold the line and you wait. And honestly, E is such a powerful ability that I had a game once, and it was probably High Master. I think it was High Master, where it was like Gibraltar. And I'm playing off support, so we only have 2 supports. I'm playing off support. We don't have Transcendence, we don't have Beat, which is really super valuable. And I'm just sitting there. I'm just standing there, like, and my dive, because it's like, we have like dive tanks. We have, I think, a Genji. I don't remember what the other one, might have been a Widowmaker or something. And I'm just sitting there hitting E.
Take some armor.
And I wish, for the love of God, I looked at my screen to see how much damage I had done. Because I feel like most of that match I did maybe like 100 damage. Like, I probably just whip-shotted someone at one point, that was it. Like, I did nothing but hit E, and we trounced them. Because E is so strong. It's such a powerful ability. It's like the only thing they never nerfed. It's kind of the funniest thing. It's easily the strongest part of our kit. It, like, stun is annoying, but it's actually not the strongest part of our kit. E is the strongest part. This repair pack is so fucking strong. It's the one thing they never nerfed. And it's why goats exist, because this ability to just save someone, to just heal instantly 150 HP is tremendously powerful. It's like Brigitte. If you combine characters with Brigitte, it's like Reinhardt and Zarya had a baby, but and it could for some reason heal. Because repair pack isn't a heal. It is a heal. Literally, it is a heal. But like how it is used is not to heal. It is to save lives the same way as Zarya level would be used. The same way you'd use Defense Matrix. It literally saves people from death. It just does it in a different way. By just, almost like in a 200 AP, just literally just giving them almost all of their life back. And then even give you the benefit of even being able to overheal in case, you know, they didn't quite need all of it. So it's not completely wasted. It's so powerful for that. Putting it on like Genji and Tracer is just so strong. So this is like the main reason why Goats is enabled, is because it makes it so much more difficult to kill things. That's why dive doesn't work against Goats, is because anyone who gets dove, well, now you can't die. Good luck. And then you have Zarya bubbles on top of that, and you have anything else. Now, still, though, in Goats, is like, Brigitte's kind of like the primary healer. And so, to actually get on topic and not just ramble about Brigitte and how bullshit she is, in any given fight, you're going to walk into it and immediately you're going to want to try and proc inspire and get your AO heal going. And the main way is you do hit it with a whip shot. So your Reinhardt engages the enemy Reinhardt. They're both going to drop shield, and the first chance you get, you whip shot the enemy Reinhardt. You could whip shot someone else, but Reinhardt's going to be the simplest because he's right in front. Make sure you land the shot. Try and make sure you're safe. Because another thing about Brigitte, and this is actually why outside of Goats, I actually don't recommend trying to trigger Inspire, because in times when you have Hanzos and shit, anytime you drop the shield, you're vulnerable of getting headshot and murdered. You're a thick lady, right? Like, you're thick. You may have 250 HP, but that don't mean shit to a Hanzo arrow. So you typically, like, just doing this, like, you're out of shield for a long time. Let's consider this here. Like that. Look how long I was vulnerable for. And I know I missed. Now, if you're someone really close, you know, the closer it is, the less time you have to do it. But that's a risky proposition against a bunch of DPS. Against Goats, you're much safer, because, again, what can really hit you? There's no long-range damage, there's no super burst damage. You're pretty safe to whip shot as you please. Your biggest concern, though, is going to be positioning. Like, Brigitte is the one that actually has to worry about how she positions, because you can't run away. You cannot repair pack yourself. So, like, one of the main saving graces, the reason why Goats exist, is because you can just repair pack anyone. Brigitte cannot repair pack herself. You know, Zarya can bubble herself. She has her own bubble to bubble herself. You can't bubble yourself. So, one of the main ways of saving people in the team is now gone. Diva Defense Matrix Q is a band-aid that is not going to matter against most of the enemy comp, because most of them go through Defense Matrix. That only stops Zen Orbs, basically. And Zarya right clicks, but that's not really an enemy concern. So if you find yourself out in Narnia, like ahead of your Reinhardt off to the side, the enemy is going to want to stomp you. And yeah, I guess part of my rambling of talking about how bullshit Brigitte is that everyone fucking hates Brigitte, and you might as well have a global taunt. They all want you dead. It doesn't even matter, like, like the situation. They all want you dead. And if you give them that opportunity, they will take it. This is why I'm like, throwing out whip shots is dangerous. It's because they will immediately, like, just gravitate towards you and try to kill you. This was even worse outside of, like, Goats, where I don't trust Zarya to bubble you. You don't do it. Like even in Ghosts, don't trust Zarya to bubble you. Zarya, as I said in all of these other character things, how much have I talked about saving Brigitte? I kind of mentioned it some way. I mostly talk about punishing the enemy Brigitte. I don't. I try to mention that Zarya, Zarya might need to bubble Brigitte because you could be out of position, but that's, don't be out of position. Don't make Zarya waste it, because Zarya is ideally looking in case she might need to save you, but her main focus is going to be Reinhardt. Like, that's just the reality of it. You can't rely on people to save your ass. If you look at even like OWL teams and how they play, I guarantee you the person who dies first most of the time is almost always going to be Brigitte for every team. I mean, you look at the Houston Outlaws, it's almost always Jake. Not to shit on Jake, but his Brigitte seems to get caught out a tremendous amount, and for whatever reason, like that's a huge problem they have. There's a very good example. So, like, you're one of the biggest ways goats can fail is if you screw up. So don't get caught out. Don't try and go commando. And I guess I'll finally get back to I think I've been doing this too long that I'm starting to get into a rambly state. Because we'll go back to the wise old ninja analogy, is that you want to, react, look for opportunities. Do not get aggressive and just be like, commando, Brigitte, you cannot stop me. This damage is not significant. It's very low. Sure, it goes through like shields and stuff, and you want to contribute as much as possible. But do not do so thinking that you are invulnerable, because your biggest counter, it's not Pharah, it's not Junkrat, it's not any of the shit that you probably thought it was when Brigitte was released. I think people have wised up to it at this point, but it is Reinhardt. And Reinhardt is the point man for the enemy team. It's Goats v Goats. He's going to be frontlining, and he's going to be gunning for you. Be very careful about engaging because of that. So the idea is going to be that you're going to be shielding most of the time to mitigate most of the damage. You will whip shot as opportunity to get Inspire going to make sure everyone stays healed, because that's a tremendous source of healing. A lot of your repair packs will be going towards Reinhardt because he will be taking the brunt of the damage, and that is the biggest heal that you have running as Goats. So, like, ideally, I think I said this during Zarya's, I hope I did, like, when the fight starts, like, once Reinhardt stays taking enough damage, once he's below 150 HP, you're probably going to immediately just want to repair pack him and get him back up to full. Make sure that he did take 150. I believe every bar of health is 25 HP. I mean, you don't have to count them, but just to give you an idea, I think every bar is 25 HP. You don't want to overheal in this instance, because overhealing the armor gained does not give you ult charge, so it's wasted. It's wasted potential, and you don't need the extra armor. I mean, armor was nerfed anyway. It's not as efficient, and because again, there's no super sources of burst healing. There's really no reason why you would ever want to overheal. So go efficient. So once Reinhardt starts taking some damage, he takes enough damage. He's like dropped like 200 some HP. Boom, give him the repair pack immediately. Ideally, then Zarya will probably bubble in between the time you get to the repair pack, and then give it to him again as he needs it. And keep in mind, Zen Orb is probably going to be on him by default, so it might actually take a little bit of time before you need it, and that's fine. You can be aware of like if anyone else might need it, but again, don't think of repair pack as a heal. This is why I'm going to go back to that. Do not think of repair pack as a heal, because even though I'm saying like, well, you got to heal the Reinhardt, in terms of like if you see D.Va, because we were talking about how D.Va could take like 300 damage and be fine and just fall back and just let Inspire and Lucio heal her. Okay, let them. Don't be like, oh man, D.Va's at half health, I need to heal her. No, because D.Va is not in risk of danger. She doesn't need healing because she's not going to die. Repair pack is she needs healing because she's at 300 HP, but she does not need saving. And that's what repair pack is for. It's to save lives in Goats. That is its it's not the primary to heal, it's to save lives. Reinhardt's basically in constant danger. like you're just putting on Reinhardt just to keep using it to keep your own ult up. But it's to use it on anyone else, it's to save lives. So if if Zarya is getting heavily focused, then yes, then throw it on Zarya, because she's going to die if you don't. If D.Va is getting focused, that's when you would use Honor. If anyone is in critical condition, if any conditions change that might warrant you to suddenly feel like they are about to die, that's when you switch and go, okay, I will now repair pack you and not Reinhardt. You are also basically, and this is where like positioning gets really tricky when we get into Wise Old Sensei territory again, is that you are going to position somewhat similar to Reinhardt. You will not be with him, next to him. You will be like behind him. You're kind of like his backup guard. So you're kind of just making sure that they cannot aggress onto your Reinhardt too heavily. So if the enemy Reinhardt is getting a little finicky, or frisky, I guess I should say, and he's like, he really wants to push in, that's when you can shield bash him. That's when you can whip shot him. You can always get like a, oh, okay, Ryan, boom. Like, if the enemy Ryan starts shielding at any point, like, that's when you go, like, okay, hit him, and then fall back. Depending on the nature, you could stay in a little bit longer, and then fall back. You don't want to stay in, because at any given point, this is where the danger is. It's a little less of a risk in Goats, just because of how aggressive Goats is, and the fact that the Ryans are pretty much going to be right next to each other all the time. But outside of Goats, you can't really trust your Reinhardt to stay into a fight. I would frequently find myself like trying to frontline with Reinhardt and then being like, wait, where is he? And then finding he was all the way over there and I'm now dead because he just left me for dead. So that could still happen to Goats. It could still be suddenly positions has changed and you were not aware of it because you're doing this and you're not seeing everything else around you. You know, you are still kind of positioned like a tank and you have the awareness of a tank. And when you're the main tank and you're Reinhardt and you're 500 HP and you have a giant huge shield, you're the one dictating the shots. And if you're playing Brig like your main tank when you're not, you're going to find yourself out in Narnia because the actual main tank made a different choice than you did. And that's going to get you killed. Less of a risk in Goats, but still something to be aware of because you could find yourself not where you want to be because you weren't quite paying attention to what was going on around you. So be the ninja master. Surround, like, just watch everyone around you, and when they make the move, that's when you strike. That's when you pounce. That's when you dash. That's when you whip shot. Also keep in mind that if shit does go south really quickly, like they're speed boosting at you, and even being like this close to Ryan is like too close, shield bash Ryan. Shield bash is not just a stun; it is also an escape. It is fast movement that will get you out of some shit really quickly. And don't be afraid to use it that way. It's not as efficient like you do. Like, I mean, you want the stun, you want the damage, but it's better to stay alive. I think that's most of the gist of it. And I think, I can't remember if I said this, because again, I've been rambling. I've been doing this for like a while now. So we're getting a little loopy. But to go back to like why everyone thought Brigitte was really strong, was that where Brigitte can really shine was that if you're in like a scrappy fight, like it's 3v3, and you got a Brig, it's so much stronger, because again, we're talking like cooldowns are so important for killing Brigitte, how BV she can be. If they don't have 6 people to focus you down, you become tremendously more stronger, like comparatively. Because again, you're half DPS, you're half tank, you're half heals, so basically you're 1.5 characters, right? So you have numbers advantage. That's where Brigitte starts to get a little tougher to deal with when you have this. Like it's not a full fight versus another full fight. So that's when you can kind of go ham and be a lot more aggressive and a lot more confident in what you're doing. And another thing, of course, is when you rally. So the way you use rally is mostly to initiate. So, if you start a fight, like you're just, because look how long this lasts. This lasts a pretty decent amount of time, way longer than a beat. So if you're at the start of a fight, you don't have any other ultimates. You just want to like go in there and get an advantage. You just pop rally at the start of a fight, just walk in. Once again, you can now be more aggressive that you have rally because it's just this constant healing. It gives you a speed boost. You're considerably beefier. And it's kind of like a constant heal on top of your already existing Inspire. Sure, like, I mean, the rally will take damage before your actual health will, so Inspire might not get that much value, but still. If you're actively taking a lot of damage, it's still kind of a double heal. And it's really strong. Inspire is going to give your team a lot more ability to just kind of push in, start being really aggressive, and not waste a lot of their cooldowns, save them for when after rally fades, and then use them, and mostly just get your other more powerful ultimates online. But if you do end up in a situation where it is like it's a scrappy 3v3 fight, don't be afraid to pop rally and just go ham, because at that point you're just going to kill them all. Even if it's like a Zarya and another Ryan, like you can get a lot done. Like if you're popping rally, suddenly Ryan versus Brigitte is kind of a fair fight, especially if you're smart about how you engage him. Because always keep in mind that you can, whip shot him away from you. Okay, he didn't move, but you can whip shot away. You can shield bash. I guess I should just quickly go over the combo. I mean, I feel like everyone should know the combo by now, but bash, whip shot, or bash, bash melee, and then cancel the melee with a whip shot, like right as it lands. So there is a slight delay to make sure the melee does land. That was a long delay, but you can do it much faster than that. But you do want to pause for a brief second and make sure that first mouse one connects after the bash. But that is, of course, your go-to combo for damage. Used to be stronger, but it's fine. One thing, the reason why I mentioned this is just to keep in mind one other thing, is that if you bash and then whip shot, the enemy will actually go farther than if you bash, melee, then whip shot. So bash, whip shot launches them farther. Actually, I think we can compare this. Okay, I can't screw that up. Well, whatever. They will fly farther if you just bash and then whip shot without the melee. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're min-maxing and desperate to make sure you get as much distance against the enemy as possible. So, probably talked about Brigitte a little too long for a character that is, people hate because she is a very simple character, but really she's not. She's one of the linchpins of GOATs and one of the biggest fail points, because you're most likely the one who's going to get caught out and killed first because of poor positioning. It's like the only character positioning that matters. So be cautious. Don't be too afraid. Get your shots in when you can find them, but don't get arrogant. Don't get too aggressive. Be very close attention to what your Ryan is doing. Don't, overstep his bounds. Don't suddenly become the main tank, because you will quickly find that as a bad idea. Rally is not a very powerful ultimate. More or less a throwaway in GOATs, really, but good for initiating a fight when you have nothing else to work with. Not necessarily great for, not as good as stabilizing as Lucio's, obviously, because it's not as good, but it can be used in that way as well. Just any time when you need any kind of edge in a fight and you don't have much else to work with, just use it and go with it. And then when you're rallying, you can play more aggressive. Just don't be too aggressive, because even if you're rallied, you can still be focused down and killed very, very quickly. How much health does this even give you max? Yeah, it's only an extra 100, which sounds like a lot, but quickly goes away when Zarya's at full energy and they're throwing flame strikes at you, and Diva's like missiling you and shit. Like, you have Discord on you. Like that 100 health could go away very, very quickly. So you still have to be extremely careful. And again, if Ryan is on top of you, how do you get away from him? You could shield bash away, but that might not be enough to close the distance if they're Lucio speed boosting. Or not close this, but escape him. So, I mean, you can, again, combo with whip shots and then bash away. Just be careful. Be aware that they will gun for you. Get your damage in when you can. Just keep Inspire procced. Keep going whip shots and getting your Inspire. Mostly repair pack Ryan as the main way of keeping him alive and in the fight. But be aware that you might have to switch in case someone needs life saving. That's basically the main points. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. I know there's things I've missed. I would take this as kind of like GOATs 101. There's lots of intricacies, lots of like set plays you could do with, like, Lucio boops, like how you can combo ultimates. There's technically a lot of ways you can do it. You grab a Tommy, you Diva bomb, you boop people into bombs. I think I did mention that one. You could also like boop Earth Shatter. There's a lot of little things you can do to maximize what you do. I think the purpose of this video really is just to try and focus, like, kind of just have a good set idea of what you're supposed to be doing. Goats is very chaotic. It's like it's a fucking mess. And the simple explanation of just run at them is deceptively, like, it's accurate, but it's so not going to help you fight another goats team, because if you're not doing it right, if you're not focusing correctly, you're gonna get rolled by a team that does it better, because this is a mirror match, right? Like, it's like the same comp versus the same comp, and there's variations, but even the variations are still like only subtle. Like, if it's somber goats versus regular goats, most of the goats fighting is still exactly the same. You just have a different element to kind of throw a wrench into it, but it's still very similar. And it's still going to be about getting as much value as you can, because it's a mirror match that removes a lot of the random luck and skill that normal DPSs can have. Because even if in like a dive mirror match, an old school dive, when it was like a Zen, if it was like Zen dive, where the way that comp worked in like pro play was that basically the one team dives the other team Zen, and then that team dives the other team Zen, and it was really a match of who could kill the other team Zen the fastest. And you might as well almost flip a coin for what's going to happen. Like, yes, there's a lot of mechanical skill to make that happen, but it's like it's almost luck to make sure that you get like the perfect Genji dashes and stuff to get this perfect play, and like that was more exciting to watch and stuff, I think, than Goats. I don't think Goats is a very fun comp to play or watch or any of that. Well, I guess it could be fun, and some people might have fun playing it, but a lot of that randomness, which is still skill, but it's kind of random, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what little things someone could get knocked away and suddenly your entire plan goes awry. A lot of that kind of is removed in Goats. It's such just a slugfest that it's so equal most of the time that if you're not doing the little things that get you that extra edge, this is how you're going to lose. Like, that's, I mean, all things being equal, that's how you make things unequal. I guess another way to phrase it, to give more universal sage wisdom, is that when I play the game in general, like let's say I'm playing DPS, I like to think about any encounter I have with like another DPS in terms of like a percentage chance to win. So if I'm a Hanzo and I'm fighting another Hanzo, what's the odds I win? 50-50, right? Because we should be equal mechanical skill, because we're both the same elo. Even though I suck at DPS, we'll just ignore that. But technically it's 50-50 chance. So what do? I get high ground. It gives me a slightly better odds. I make sure I have cooldowns. I try to engage him when he doesn't have cooldowns. If I have Sonic, it's the percentage changes depending on the situation. So, high ground, Sonic arrow, if I have leap, all of these things factor into the odds of me actually swinging this fight in my favor, even if my mechanical skill sucks. And that's the thing. Like, I can be shit mechanical skill, but if I'm using like game sense, and that's basically what this is talking about cooldown and stuff, that's game sense, it's positioning, stuff like that, to change the numbers to overcome the fact that my mechanical skill, because if we're talking realistically, maybe it's 40-60 I win, or even like 25-75. Like, I suck at Anzo, he's really good, but if I'm using all these other factors to my advantage, suddenly I'm turning this actually completely reversing it. Even though I suck, I've done all these things to make it so that I win. That's how you play the game, honestly. Goats kind of removes a lot of that. Like, it doesn't have that kind of positioning matter. Like, positioning doesn't matter as much. A lot of it just, like, there's not a lot even of mechanical skill involved. Like, Borgita has very little. Zen's the only one that truly has a lot of aim. I mean, Zarya can do some tracking, right clicks and stuff, but it's minimal compared to anything of like the DPS quality. That's why people play tanks and supports. They don't usually require a lot of these things. So, like, it's such a, you gotta get the min max going as much as you can in the ways that it matters to get these advantages to then change the percentages in your favor. Because there's no other way really to do it. Because things like high ground just don't matter as much. Because in the Hanzo v Hanzo example, high ground does definitely swing in your favor. It definitely has a definite difference on the percentage chance. In Goats, the difference is marginal at best. It's not 10%, it's not 20, it's like 2 or something. It matters to maybe Diva, it matters to maybe Zarya, if you could do it. Like, if you do watch the O teams, I didn't mention that Zarya could take high ground, but it's mostly just because the opportunities are not necessarily going to be there. It's more map dependent, and honestly, it's kind of like we're doing Goats 101 here, not 102. So yeah, like you could do it with Zarya, but it does expose Zarya a bit too. Like she's more in danger than Diva is by doing that. So it's there's some risk reward there. But in goats in general, like being on the high ground doesn't really matter. You would probably just immediately drop off. Honestly, once you were up there, you would do it just to have it, and then just immediately give it up because it doesn't matter. Um, but just as general advice, like if you think of the game in these terms of like what's my odds of winning this, and then you always pick favorable battles, you're more likely to get wins. That's kind of how you play. So this entire video, both videos, I guess, is more like how do we try and swing, a mirror match in our favor. And it's like get as much value as you can of what you have. Focus on the things you need to focus on. Stick to your core, like directives in terms of goats. Stick to that. Fall back to that. Learn these things because I guess that's the other issue is like you get into the chaos of a fight, you don't necessarily know what to do. And I didn't mention this, but obviously it should be said that like target calling, like shot calling, like you all need to be focused on something. Like I kind of briefly covered it. It's almost like I guess an afterthought just because of how obvious it is that goats is definitely heavily favored on like focusing targets. So someone needs to be like kill Reinhardt, kill Reinhardt, kill Reinhardt. Usually the call out doesn't happen until it's like he's actually killable. Like when his shield's almost broken, he's at half health. He's like weak. You know that like Zarya doesn't have bubble to save him. Like this is the time to strike, and that's when you start yelling that, because it's like, okay, seriously, guys, everyone focus Reinhardt. Fuck whatever else you thought you were doing. Like we're gonna kill him right now. And it's basically, it's not even just a target call. It's almost a go ahead of like, no, we're committing on it. We're committing to kill Reinhardt. We're if we got speed, we're speeding on him. We're definitely gonna fucking kill him right now. That's usually when you start yelling targets. But so it's like, I guess what I'm saying, like when Zen's like mostly you're focusing on Reinhardt, is that at the start of the fight you're not going to yell Rein, kill, because he's still full health. They still have all their cooldowns, but that doesn't mean you're not focusing Reinhardt anyway. It's important to understand these default positions, because when you don't understand that, this is when you get into like, let's walk into a team fight and we're all doing different things. And when we're all doing different things, nothing actually gets accomplished. But what if the enemy team is focusing your Reinhardt, they're going to accomplish something. It might take a little bit of time, and it might make it more difficult to recognize what they're doing, because Reinhardt's not going to drop instantly. He's not in the position where they all start yelling Rein. But it will happen if they're focusing on him, because eventually the shield will start cracking, your cooldowns will be alone, and Rein's going to be at half health and almost dead, and then you're screwed. You need to be the one that puts them in that position first. But without just yelling Rein all the time, because it's like, you start yelling it to get the sense of urgency to like tell everyone you're full committing on this. We're doing it. He's gonna die for sure. But you don't start a fight that way. But you still have these default things. So, and I guess if we're do a quick recap, I guess I'll do a quick recap of the tanks too. Rein. Pay attention to cooldowns. Pay attention to do kind of be aware of opportunities to kill other people other than Rein. If you do see someone out of position, get your cleaves in where you are moving your mouse to try and maximize your damage. Flame strike. Don't necessarily blow it off cooldown. Be a little bit more smarter and strategic about it, so it gets more value. It either does more damage or takes out or hits targets that are more critical and could be perhaps jumped on and killed, like a Brigitte that's off to the side. Now suddenly she just took 100 damage and maybe could die now. Be aware of those things. Zarya, just make sure you're not worried about building energy. That will happen anyway. Keep your bubbles to save yourself, save another player. If you are ever going to use bubbles to get energy, do it at the very start of the fight and kind of let your team know that you did that and that they should play a little bit safer for 10 seconds. Only do this on attack. Do not do this on defense. Because on defense, you basically signaled, team, come and kill us quick. Here's your opportunity. So, just like, you'll get energy if you just use your bubbles correctly. Don't worry about that. The other thing is just, focus damage, default to Reinhardt. Like, I don't think I might not just say that about Zarya, I might not say this about everyone, but generally speaking, if you don't know who to shoot Reinhardt. Yes, he is going to get the most attention from the enemy team, but that's kind of the point. If you're diverting it, because as I'll say to get the D.Va, Actually, I'll just talk about Diva now. So Diva, like, trying to be a distraction. Like, you might have other jobs if the comp is not just a straight like Zen Goats mirror match, but in this situation, try and be a distraction. You're the one who can safely be off to a side angle. You could easily take high ground, and then boost away if you're ever in danger. Just make sure you don't get demeched. Just make sure that when you are like, you can safely lose about 300 HP and then easily be able to get out. Because the most amount of burst damage they could probably do to you is like, I don't know, 200. Like a flame strike, a whip shot is like a 175. I guess a Zarya could, well, I mean, burst is, the beam is a steady stream. You're pretty, like, if you have 300 HP and you get out, you should definitely not get demeched. That's going to be pretty safe. So, but be this distraction because you can afford to take a lot of damage and then just get healed up by AoE. There's might be opportunities for you to damage other people than Reinhardt. You just still probably focus Reinhardt. Zarya should be focusing Reinhardt. But you act as a distraction to try and get them to stop focusing on your Reinhardt, so that then you get the advantage when your whole team is focusing their Reinhardt, and their team gets distracted thinking that maybe they can kill you on some kind of weird off angle when they can't. That's where you can get a lot of potential gain from that. And even if they just let you go up there and they don't do anything, well, now you're in this off angle high ground position where you guys are damaging other people not in the shield. And this can also, I think I did forget to mention this. I guess maybe I just thought it was somewhat obvious, but if they just ignore you entirely and you're just in this off angle as Diva, that's fine. Because if your Rhine like gets a flame strike and now everyone's at 100 health less HP, maybe at this point now, oh hey, Lucio's there, and now maybe you hit him with missiles and you can actually just pick them off right there, right? Because they didn't challenge you, and now you have boosters to just boost into them, and you can kill them. And since you still have 600 HP, sure, you're in the middle of the enemy team, but I mean, you might have repair pack still and bubbles and can be saved, and you've got a kill, so it's like totally worth it, and you just win. Because now it's just, you just keep swinging. Reinhardt just goes and swings everybody. You win that. So, if they do just ignore you on these off angles, fine. You could still focus Reinhardt, maybe. Depends on how steep the angle actually is, but you could focus Reinhardt, or you could, maybe get some shots on someone else to maybe get some potential. Maybe convince them to focus you, because again, you're a distraction. Be a distraction. The game wants to shut down. That's fine. But so and just make sure you're playing at least reasonably safe. But then yeah, so. Going back to Lucio, once you could kind of be a similar position to Diva, but not nearly as risky. Like, you don't have the potential to just nope out of the situation as easily. Be very keenly aware that Brigitte will kill you if you get too close to her. That's your biggest fear. If you practice on staying on walls, try and stay off the ground as much as possible unless you get discorded. Discord is the big warning that you are in trouble. Drop down, because they want to kill you if you get discorded. Same true of anyone. That's always going to be, if you get discarded, they're targeting you. It's just especially dangerous for Lucio. So that's going to be the key, that Reddit Lucio time is over. Get safe, get the discord off of you, and then maybe continue. And then look for the opportunities to get the big boop plays, to boop enemy Reinhardt into your team. And then, that could just win the fight right there, if it all works out. Just be smart about it. And then generally just keep things on heals. Only speed if a target is called to advance on it. Was again, if like, we're killing Reinhardt, then you might want to switch to speed to make sure that everyone can advance on Reinhardt quickly. Because again, like your Ryan might be able to advance on pretty quickly, but if Brigitte is playing safer, it's going to take maybe a hot second for her to catch up. And if you speed real quick, you don't need to wait. So she'll get in quicker, be able to do damage quicker, and then kill him quicker. Because another thing is, again, mirror matches, you're trying to maximize as much as possible. That extra one mace swing that Brigitte gets in because you sped her in might actually make the difference. You don't know. So, but yeah, generally though, keep it on heals. Use beat. Beat can be used as a stabilizer if people start taking a bunch of damage and you need to kind of reset. Beat's good for that. Use beat to block. If Earth Shatter fails, ideally, see if you're on walls, you're not going to get Earth Shattered. If you have to, you can play around corners, where if your team is here, you could literally be here and heal everyone and be completely safe if that is necessary. Like if you were on a wall, got discorded, took a bunch of damage, and like, oh man, I'm almost dead, just stay here, keep healing your team, and just wait it out. Try to avoid using amp unnecessarily. I guess I didn't mention that, but yes, amp is still a critical cooldown. Like, you're gonna use it much similar way to save Reinhardt the way Brigitte might, but you're not. I don't think I mentioned amp that much. God damn, what the hell's wrong with me? I'm not going back to fix it. But amp is definitely going to be another critical cooldown that you use, but it's just going to be like another life-saving thing, much similar to Zarya Bubble or not quite repair pack, because repair pack is going to be used a lot more liberally, but it's going to be similar to Zarya Bubble, where oh shit, everyone took a bunch of damage. Okay, we're gonna amp heals. Even if it's just Reinhardt that took a bunch of damage, you amp heals because you want to make sure he's saved. And I think I did mention a little bit where you could switch while you're amping to either speed or heals like midway through to kind of get the benefits of both a little. You kind of just have to use your best judgment if that's actually going to get value or not. Because if the enemy's Rein's right on top of you, trying to speed amp him out might not even work. So, it's best judgment at the moment. There's no real good advice for that, without like seeing like really specific examples. But beat though can be used a lot more liberally than you're probably used to using it. The only don't use it for graviton. If it's going to be a counter ultimate, it's probably going to be Earth Shatter, just because you're not someone who's necessarily going to be caught into it, or possibly for Deep Bomb if you want to be like an OW ultra hard. But more likely you're using it kind of just to stabilize during a fight where your team's not doing very well and you need to kind of like change the flow of things. Don't save it for don't be saving it for like there's no Genji blade coming. Just you're okay to use it when you get it. Don't use it like an idiot. Definitely don't stack it with Zenyatta. And this is what I'm saying when we get to Zenyatta Transcendence. You're going to mostly use it for Grav. That's your life-saving ultimate where someone is literally seconds, like 9 seconds, but like milliseconds away from death. Immediately press Q and then it's instantaneous. Start healing it. You can actually save people from near death with that. But usually this is the one that's most likely to get saved. If you're going to save any ultimate, it's probably going to be Transcendence. Otherwise, with Zen, you're discording Reinhardt by default. You're putting orbs in Rein by default. Opportunities present itself, then you can switch off. But Rein's don't get distracted by people you cannot kill. Don't fall for the trap I've already set when I talk about like Diva being a distraction. Diva wants to fuck around over there. Honestly, you could probably just let her. Be aware of it. But honestly, mostly just keep focusing on Reinhardt. Make sure you try and kill him as quickly as possible. And keep the pressure on him so that he can fall. Brigitte, I think I covered enough, honestly. Just don't kill yourself. Don't be too aggressive. They say if repair pack mostly goes to Reinhardt, it goes to other people only to save their life. That's pretty good. And that's trying to keep Inspire up as much as possible. And Rally is the most throwaway of the ultimates. Use it at the start of a fight. Don't consider anything as a life-saving measure. Usually just use it as to like kind of give you a bit of an edge in a straight fight and prevent you from using other cooldowns. Other than that, I think we got everything covered pretty well here. Without getting into like actually seeing like actual games and really seeing how it all plays out. Hopefully this gives you kind of a good idea and they didn't just completely waste a shitload of time talking about this and rambling for like 2 hours easy. I'm sure this was another hour video. I want to say I hope it was enjoyable, but I can't imagine it was. But whatever, maybe informative. Good luck in your games though. Hopefully it's paid off for someone. Good night and good luck. I'm an old man that makes old man references.